The services always happened at night, the same time as when the Virgin's blessing fell orange from the sky into the convent's garden. Dozens of brothers, sisters, and siblings in green knelt around the altar except for one. Sam stood, and at the mother's signal, approached, hands clasped beneath their chin. Before the attending Marians, the Mother Superior laid her hands on Sam's shoulders. Sam's face was stone, but tears rimmed their eyes. The day had finally come.
Mary, Mother profound and giver of God's life, we bring before you an acolyte of virtue, true and strength resolved. Please welcome them to a fuller life of service before you, God's bride and Mother Mary. Now I ask of the acolyte, will you care for Mary's children?
Yes.
Sam's voice resounded off the stone walls.
Will you live every day for her gifts and reject worldly comforts?
They had been living on dumpster-scavenged food and beans for 4 years now. Every piece of clothing they wore itched, and their hair, cut once a year, was tangled in knots.
Yes.
The Mother Superior beckoned a sister, holding a golden platter, and removed from the tray a gleaming blade.
Then we cast from your shoulders your garments.
Starting at the neck, she slit a line down the green robes until it opened like a bathrobe and slipped off Sam's frame to reveal the white cassock beneath. With the ringing of a bell, a brother in green gave the mother a bright folded bundle. Mother Superior unfurled it, the golden thread flickering in the candlelight.
And affix upon you a new cloth, golden as the Virgin's hair, to mark your new vocation to our Mother Mary and the miracle she cast from heaven. Welcome to your deeper, more righteous duties. Green robes rise and pray over your new superior, sibling Sam Parson.
Sam stirred at the false name they had provided. It had become who they were. The observers reached their hands into the sky and began to sway as the golden robes fell over Sam's shoulders.
Thank you, Mary.
They uttered in praise.
Thank you, Mother.
Sam cried, smiled, and received blessings. A most convincing act. At the first bell, Sam woke in their new dormitory with the other gold robes. The sun would not be up for another hour. They dressed in the dark, lifting their new robes over their head. Mother Genevieve, their superior red robe, waited for them at the door.
I'll show you to your new workstation.
Sam followed with a bowed head, pulsing with nerves and excitement. With the Plasmonelid's gift for memory, they recalled the anguished expression of their mother when they left home for the Marians. It had been 4 years since they spoke. They had spent the first 2 years of green robes doing grunt work for the Marians, begging for food on street corners, scavenging dumpsters of the 5 different Krogers, and one desperate winter, stealing from a food pantry. The Marians broke Sam into pieces, hoping to rebuild them into the shape of a follower. Night after night spent cold and hungry, they thought of their friends from high school and their peers in the biology labs before dropping out of college. As Sam ate the paltry meals of green robes, they imagined the graduation parties they were missing, the conversations about grad school and careers. They didn't have the luxury of friends in the convent. No one could know what they really were. The children of Pips were not allowed into the living tabernacle. Sam knew complete solitude and poured what passion and energy they had into the convent. The next summer was better. They helped grow beans and drive the trucks. Come fall, they earned a new job at an actual clinic doing admittance. They took information from arriving parents, fastened wristbands, and guided patients from triage to eruption chambers. They became familiar with the different screams each eruption phase earned, the whimpers of Phase 1 to the howls of Phase 4. When, by chance, they were called to attend in the eruption room one day, a gold robe had suddenly fallen sick, they proved themselves capable of maintaining the EO bath for new eruptees. A new duty was assigned. Sam spent what became their final year of green robes, preparing stock solutions, mixing salt and water and ammonia, and making supply deliveries to the eruption chambers in the clinic. Coiled deep within, their tongue tasted the swirling genomic mysteries of these new arrivals. They sensed, especially in the first two eruptions, the marks of their third parent, an entity they had never known, swirling within the tadpoles and fish like Aurora Borealis. Genetically, they spiraled in strange shapes, twisting, forking, beating, splitting, wonders Sam had never known, except in fragments of memory. Now, they followed Mother Genevieve through unfamiliar passages in the convent, plaster giving way to stone, tile to dirt. The mother smiled back at Sam.
It's a privilege to see these halls,
she said.
We bar them from green robes and all lay persons, but it's a shame. The history, the power of it all. I think it'd convince a lot of skeptics.
The pair passed an archway built into the stone wall and felt a cool breeze blow from an adjacent garden.
Is that?
Sam began. The sister nodded. Sam deviated from the path to behold where it all began. Though the sun was yet to rise, the vegetable garden shone with hidden complexity. Pieces of genetic shrapnel still dotted the ground outside the crater, in the green bean plot, where the ground sank 10 feet deep in a pit. Crosses held up rosaries like roadside shrines in a perimeter around the crater, candles casting awe and dancing shadows. Sam walked to the edge and looked over the side, disappointed to find nothing within. The red-robed mother explained.
We had to relocate Mary's gift. Here it was too exposed to the elements, surveillance. It's more at home in the living tabernacle.
Sam's breath quickened at the mention. They tried hard not to betray their interest. The mother patted them on the back.
Keep up your work, and I imagine you'll see it one day.
Sam peered into the crater. 45 years ago, the creature landed in the garden, almost killing Sister Maeve, the first contact, the first Marian, the first Pip's parent. They recalled the story. The nuns were drawn by Maeve's screams to find her, struck through but still alive. Sister Maeve was supposed to plant seeds that night, but instead, she was the one who was cultivated. Sam bent over, pretending to kiss the soil. Their tongue poked out to fall on the dirt. Fragments of memory swirled in their mind, the blasted char of the dirt, an enveloping darkness without eyes, trapped inside a body, the burn of oxygen. The mother's hand pulled them away. Mother Genevieve deposited Sam in a rocky chamber lit with dangling bulbs and crisscrossed with electrical cords, reeking of ammonia. At the center, an immense carved stone bath of EO solution steamed. Droplets gathered and fell from a hole in the cavern's low ceiling above the pool. The air buzzed like before a storm. The mother coughed.
I've been told you have a degree in xenospecies biology.
Just an associate's.
Sam answered.
More than your siblings. You'll do well here.
So, What is it exactly I'll be...
Quiet. It's starting.
A tremendous sound rang off the walls of the cavern, like an engine groaning to life then spasming to death. Ammonia-reeking liquid began to pour out of the ceiling hole into the pool, burning the hair on Sam's nose. The foul liquid slowed, and then the seedlings. One by one, little squirming creatures the size of sunflower seeds fell into the pool, and Sam watched them recover from their fall, swimming laps with stunted flagellae. Sam wanted to dip their hand into the steaming hot liquid, cup the little critters in their hands. No, not critters. Sam's actual siblings. This was where Sam's life began. There was a scent to the air that seemed familiar. 2 other gold robes walked in, ready to begin their day. Sam waved to each, but they ignored Sam. The mother continued.
Your job is to maintain the bath and select the seedlings capable of implantation. Most will fail, that is expected. Your fellow golds will instruct you. Mary's grace upon you, sibling Sam.
The first day was a struggle. The 2 other gold robes were 6 and 8 years older than Sam and had spent a long time earning their spot. They didn't instruct so much as bark.
Salt bag, now!
By midday prayer, Sam's shoulders ached, and they had burned their hands stoking the coal fires warming the pool. Sam was given every manual labor while the other 2 attended to the seedlings, complaining all day.
Shit, this group is thinning quick. What are the Reds doing up there? This is half yesterday's crop.
By evening prayer, the yield of 100 seedlings withered to just 4. While the 2 other gold robes started herding them into overnight baths, Sam was left to gather the dead. Like scooping dead leaves, Sam gathered the slight bodies into a mesh net, sending the others into whirls like a Van Gogh sky. Dozens of dead little things, floating by their heads with tails dangling down. While the other golds were occupied, Sam took off their gloves and lowered a hand into the water. The ammonia burned their hand, but they didn't care. Sam held one of the bodies in their palm. No wonder the Marians called them seedlings. The exterior was hard, almost rocky, while the tail felt as firm as a fresh green sprout. They massaged the body between gentle fingers. Not a sprout, more like a worm. It was pliable, inflated with liquid. Suddenly, it began to shake and move.
Hey!
Sam blurted. The other 2 looked up.
Got a live one here.
The eldest gold robe almost betrayed a look of satisfaction before scowling.
Then bring it over.
Sam scooped it up and ran it over, liquid dripping down to the stone floor. They placed it right into its own overnight container. The brother flicked a heat lamp on.
Nice catch, Sam.
Then a frown.
Put your gloves back on.
After dusk prayer, the day's toil was complete. The other Marians went back to the quarters. Sam lingered in the garden. They walked back through the tunnel, but didn't stop at the bath. 50 paces down a pitch-black hall, they found a staircase carved into the stone. Sam waited a full minute, listening for footsteps before climbing it. Torchlight spiraled above, and in their mouth, their tongue pulsed and waved. With their first step out of the stairwell, Sam met the glare of a boulder of a man. He wore gold robes and clasped a baton in his hands. Sam had never seen a Marian with a weapon. Sam searched his face. A long forehead, thinning black hair, eyes set close and slightly askew. Despite his threatening stance, his face didn't carry the threat. He looked scared, reasonable. The moment Sam made a timid step forward, he shouted, a quaver in his voice.
Turn around! This ain't your post!
Sorry. I wasn't trying to.
They finally noticed what he guarded. A massive wooden door reinforced with iron. Sam could sense what waited on the other side. A strange void tugged at their core, yawning and pitching. The man in gold stomped a foot on the ground.
I said go!
Without a word, Sam returned to the dark of the staircase. Sam could not seem to avoid the guard. By the end of the week, they had 2 more encounters. The next morning, Sam rose early to visit the garden before their duties. They found it deserted and allowed themselves another taste of the soil. On closer inspection, they found remnants of 2 creatures deep within the earth of the crater. One human, one not. Both were flavored by fear. An emotional residue burned into the dirt like the smolder of lightning. Mary's miracle was not received joyfully. It was terrifying. Sam felt a portion of the fear the 2 must have felt when they retracted their tongue and saw the guard staring at them from the archway. They had no way of knowing how long the man had stared. Had he seen Sam's tongue? He did not stick around for questioning. By the time Sam reached the archway, they heard his footsteps clacking far away on the tile of the convent's halls. They were certain they would be apprehended by nightfall. The day's labor seemed never-ending, every passing hour of compounding expectation a torture. Days passed until Sam believed an unlikely hope. The guard had seen nothing. On Sunday after night service, the Marians enjoyed their only proper meal of the week. The groups were all divided by robe color. As a green robe, it had been their one day of meat. Sam wondered what provisions their new rank afforded. The 24 gold robes lined up, most of them chatting quietly, laughing, taking turns at the scavengings. Finally, it was Sam's turn at the front, and they beheld a spread that sent their mouth watering. Half a honey-baked ham, stale rolls, expired sushi, name-brand Rice Krispie treats, an entire takeout order of kimchi fished from a dumpster, and a cornucopia of canned goods with a row of personal hot plates. A hobo's continental breakfast. Sam resisted the temptation to explore flavor, to enjoy the spread fully. They took what most other gold robes chose, a handful of rolls and a slice of ham. As Sam walked to the rear of the dining hall, they passed the guard from the other night. His plate made Sam's mouth resume its salivating. The guard's meal was not like what the other followers ate, what Sam forced themselves to choose. It was the broad spectrum of flavors they actually craved. Kidney beans and ranch dressing, stale danishes with olives pressed into the cheese, sushi rolls wrapped in a tortilla with a can of Progresso corn chowder poured on top. Sam did not mean to slow down. The man noticed their gaze and faltered. A Philly roll slipped from his tortilla. Sam scrutinized him now, pondering a question they dare not speak. Are you like me? Sam gave him a bashful grin, trying to acknowledge the unspeakable without words. It didn't matter. Terror spread to the man's face, a terror Sam knew well. Recognition. The guard stood up at once. He swiped all his food back onto the tray and paced quickly to the trash cans. He dumped his carefully crafted meal into the trash and fled in the direction of the dormitory. Sam broke eye contact and darted away, cheeks burning. They practically outed themselves without so much as a thought. They could have just sacrificed years of effort, deception, and empty stomachs. Yet, the question burned in their mind. Was he a child of Pip's? They could not explain how, but they knew the answer. Sam had met one other Pips kid in their life, in college. They sat across from each other in a xenobiology seminar. To Sam's astonishment, she voluntarily outed herself in the first seminar.
Professor, as a child of a xenospecies myself, I wanted to clarify.
Sam could not fathom their lack of shame. They had left Catholic school, but Catholic school did not so easily leave the child. They avoided the other student at all costs, afraid of association. After class one day, after such careful avoidance, she cornered Sam in the hall.
Hey, I've been meaning to ask you, are you a Pips kid?
Sam knew the terror the guard felt, the fear of being found out, of failing to hide the one thing you never wanted known. Sam had pushed the student away, fled without an answer, but none was required. Whatever they thought they were hiding, it was obvious to another hybrid. Days passed since the dining hall interaction. Sam's dreams replayed the man's change in expression, let Sam study the position of his eyes, the panic. They craved another meeting. The lonely weight pressing on their chest was heavier now that it was acknowledged. Isolation is a kind of starvation, and the dying do all they can to survive. Sam lingered after their shift that week and approached the guard again. This time, he did not issue a command or clench his baton. He flinched. The roles reversed in full.
Why did you come here?
He asked. Sam spoke slowly, like trying to calm a scared dog.
I was just curious. Curious if you were,
They left the words unspoken.
I'm gonna go pray in the garden. You can join me. I'll wait.
The guard said nothing, knuckles popping as he gripped his baton. Sam turned away, but before they disappeared around the corner,
Hey, my shift is done in 2 hours.
his baton hung at his side, limp.
I'll be there.
Sam smiled. Sam waited under the browning leaves of a pin oak in the garden. A few other gold robes and a red superior came by to pray, but they left after short intervals. Just as Sam was beginning to give up, the guard arrived. It was after 3 a.m. They were all alone. The man didn't say a word as he approached. He just walked up beside Sam, fell to his knees, then bowed before the crater. Eyes to the ground, he spoke to Sam under his breath.
Are you one of them?
The man didn't seem so massive this close up. He wasn't as old as Sam expected either, maybe 30. In mute response, fighting their nerves, Sam extended their tongue until the yellow began to show.
I never would have known.
He exhaled.
Though I ain't so good at telling these kinds of things.
He returned to his knees.
Are you one too?
Sam finally asked. He nodded, unable to meet their eyes.
How did you know?
I eat the same way. Or I used to. It's not about the taste, it's about exploring, learning.
The man sighed.
I thought that was just me. I should have guessed.
The two inspected each other in silence, evaluating. Sam reached out their hand.
Sam.
Marvin.
He shook hands gently.
So, when did you find out?
Sam baffled at the words before assembling a response.
How do you mean? Always. I remembered my other phases, for Christ's sake. Find out. It never left my mind.
He smiled weakly.
Your parents told you.
Parent.
Oh, sorry.
Marvin swallowed hard, then continued.
I remembered too. I mean, at least I used to. When I was a kid, I had these terrible dreams. People in masks, reaching into my mouth, grabbing my tongue, pulling pulling.
He breathed heavily, unable to go on.
First time I asked my parents about my dreams, they started fighting. I got taken to a doctor, and they put me on pills and made me dizzy all day. They told me I was sick. But the dreams didn't stop. So I thought I was losing my mind. It was so clear. The glaring lights, looking up and seeing my father's face in agony. I just couldn't handle it.
They hid it from you?
He nodded.
But you can't hide a tongue like ours. When I was a kid, it used to...
The memory he shared about the people in masks suddenly clicked into place.
No, they didn't.
It was Marvin's turn to demonstrate. He stuck out his tongue. It could barely reach past his teeth.
I had surgery when I was still a baby. They removed most of my tongue. It put me under, but I still remember. After that, it's like all my memories turned grayscale, like someone left them out in the sun.
Sam shivered.
They cut it off?
Apparently it was pretty common. They didn't think kids could handle knowing what they were. I can still use it, but it's not the same.
Sam tried to imagine life without the hidden meters of their tongue. They'd rather lose an eye.
When did you find out?
He went quiet again. Sam watched him grind his teeth, finding the courage for the words.
A few years ago, right when it became a gold, I got a friend to let me into the records room.
Sam could hear the way his throat clenched over every syllable, doing his best to hold back tears.
You were drawn here, like me.
Marvin wiped his eyes.
I think I always knew. But even then, it rocked me. I still don't know what it really means to be not a human.
Marvin jolted as Sam's arms embraced him. Sam didn't quite know why they did it, but it was the only act that made sense. They felt his head bob silently. Quiet sobs shook out of him, no louder than the rustling of his robes. Finally, he parted, eyes red, embarrassed at what had come over him. He tried to carry on like it hadn't happened.
So your parents told you?
Parent.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. You're a...
My mom. Yeah, she told me. She was always honest with me about what I am.
Marvin smiled in his sad way.
You're lucky.
Sam could not reckon with this thought. They stared ahead, into the crater, and changed subjects.
So... This is where we come from.
Marvin closed his eyes.
There's something the mothers leave out of the story when they tell it.
Sam looked into Marvin's pupils, wide, black, quivering, and in the center, an image of their self.
What?
The screaming the nuns heard that night wasn't Sister Maeve.
Sam thought of the strangely organic engine roar in the pool chamber. It sounded like agony.
There's a reason they call it an asteroid. It makes it sound less alive.
Have you seen it?
The brother nodded.
What does it look like?
I can't quite explain.
He sensed the longing in Sam's face.
Do you want to see it?
Yes.
Marvin looked left and right.
Not tonight. The sun's almost up, but meet me Thursday night at the same time. I'll bring you in.
He stood up, dusted off his robes.
You should get back to the dorms.
On Wednesday, Sam left the carved stone tunnels and gardens for the admin room, a beige drop-ceiling office at the head of the convent. They signed the false name they gave the Marians on a clipboard along with the date and time and returned it to the attendant.
Have you used any of your calls this month?
The woman asked.
No.
All right. You have 15 minutes. I'll knock when there's 2 minutes left.
Sam shut the door behind them. They dialed a number they memorized in kindergarten. It rang and rang. Sam felt cold sweat in their armpits, heart pounding in their chest. Finally,
Hello?
their mother said on the other line. Sam could not bring themselves to talk.
Hello?
Mandela called into the phone.
Hi.
The line went silent.
Sam? My God, are you okay? Are you hurt? Where are you?
I'm fine, Mom, really.
Where are you then? Please, I want to see you.
I can't tell you that, but it's okay. I'm almost done.
What are you doing, Sam?
I just wanted to tell you... Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you for raising me the way you did. I was really lucky to have a mom like you.
Sam, why are you telling me this?
I love you.
They hung up the phone. Thursday night, Sam lingered in the pool after their shift. They had spent more time with the seedlings that day, and nearly 15 survived until night. They had a gift, or perhaps just a familiar touch. Sam waited until the other 2 gold robes were out of sight before doubling back to the staircase to the living tabernacle. When they arrived, Marvin was standing straight, baton clasped tightly between his hands. The moment Sam appeared, he began swiping a hand below his neck, mouthing the word, "No!" Before Sam could fully understand, the door to the living tabernacle opened, and the Mother Superior walked out. Sam ducked back into the stairwell a moment before they were seen. They counted their breaths, trying not to gasp loudly for air. They heard feet tapping on the stone floor, coming closer and closer. Then they changed direction and slowly faded away down the opposite hall. Sam waited another minute before emerging. Marvin sighed deeply in relief.
Yeah, let's do it.
He whispered. As Sam walked to the door, they were no longer so sure they should be there. It was a betrayal of the Marians and, in a way, their human birth parents. They fretted, wondering if Marvin had used this all to set Sam up. But as they shared a glance and looked at the door, all Sam could feel was a sense of homecoming.
Ready?
Marvin said, fingers braced on the wood. Sam nodded. He shoved the door open. At first, all Sam saw was the gleaming of gold and glass. Here, the Marians showed their Catholic colors. The room shone with candles, every stone adorned with gold leaf, crystal pitchers of clear liquid, incense, and golden chains. Whereas in the pool chamber, the air buzzed, here it crackled. The hair on the back of Sam's neck stood up. In their mouth, their tongue hopped to attention, pounding the back of their teeth like knocking on a door. Marvin walked up and put a hand on Sam's shoulder. They understood at once why it was called a living tabernacle. Sister Maeve had never quite died. The way soil beneath a tree is laced through and connected with every root, so too her body, sprawled over a stone altar, was intermingled with the original plasmonellid. The alien being was not quite a worm or a tree, but something in between. It reared and twisted from the faintly respiring taut skin of the corpse, a morbid bonsai the size of a person. From the dozen yellow-banded tendrils, growths bloomed unlike any fruit. From petals shaped like ears, eyelids, and praying hands, seedlings sprouted, waving on the fluid membranes Sam had thought of as tails. They were actually stems. Torches dripped flame in a circle around the creature, on all sides and hanging from above. Wherever the many-banded yellow tendrils of the alien came too close, they charred and retracted, like bait recoiling from the hook. Sam took a step forward and hit their shin on the rim of a stone basin. The ground sloped down, and beneath the altar, a grate. Only now did they notice the hoses and the chemical tanks. They climbed over the rim and walked to the altar.
Maybe we should stay back.
Marvin called, but it was useless. Sam was already there. Sam studied the nun's body, her emaciated form loosely wrapped in fresh white linen. Gold, green, and red stoles crossed her neck and fanned down the sides of the altar. Sam touched the woman's arm, but it was the worm tree that shivered at the touch. Their tongue pounded at their teeth again. From an eyelid bloom, a tear seemed to gather and roll down a branch near Sam's head. Sam opened their mouth, and the tongue moved of its own accord.
Hey, stop that!
Marvin hissed in a whisper as the tongue made contact. Sam disappeared within a chromosome of memory they had never known. Over the span of seconds, Sam absorbed the cold freedom of a 10,000-year journey and the agony of a 45-year internment. They understood memories without sight, without smell or touch, but a vibrancy of taste. The oscillation of starlight, sweet and nourishing. The time spent in hibernation, dreaming and fabricating new internal worlds. They understood the comfort of their own mystery flesh, a long yellow sensory organ folded in and around itself, an insular universe soaring through physical galaxies, an eternal explorer. And then, burning. The friction of air molecules, an explosion of sensations, and a rush of pain. For the first time in eons, the creature stopped moving. Every piece of the creature vibrated. Its anguish erupted audibly from every rattling stem and humming organ. It did not expect a response.
Holy Mary!
The creature gasped in its own agony. After impact, the plasmonelid's body was no longer one, but two. It felt the need to understand. The explorer ventured into this new form. It collected samples. It absorbed memory, bacterial plasmids, cellular scaffolding, genetic blueprints, and even some of the fish she ate for lunch. It heard thoughts echo with ears that were not its own.
What is happening?
A strange creature's subconscious shrieks.
Get out of me!
Wherever it had landed, it was not welcome. The creature tried to leave when hands seized both the bodies. Suddenly they moved again, but not of their own will. Moonlight disappeared from eyes that were not its own, the sky obstructed by dense stone. The alien heard its first prayers. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. It tried to expel what it had absorbed, undo what it had done. From the ends of its tendrils, it excreted the recombinant pieces it created, expelling the genetics of an unwilling participant. It writhed, attempted to unplant from the fertile body, but with every attempt at escape, the hands bound closer. The eradicated capsules fell back upon the host creature. They too felt the need to explore. In her abdomen, new life grew, its own life. The alien felt itself born again in new flesh, distant and separate. It heard jubilation, song, and praise, but all it knew was captivity. Within days, the sapling worm tree experienced the tedium of worship. It withered before the reek of incense, the mindless clatter of human song, the burn of candles, the cut of blades, and each morning, the cauterizing burn of an ammonia bath. Every day was the same. The captors pruned, plucked, and planted again. Pruned, plucked, and planted. Pruned, plucked, and planted. Pieces of the plasmonellid took root in new places, and it yearned for them, rattling in subsonic frequency from every branch. It called them home. Sam pulled away and collapsed to the ground. Hands stirred them from the dark of unconsciousness.
Sam! Are you okay?
Sam scrambled back to their feet, head spinning with urgency. Marvin jumped back in alarm as Sam kicked down the candles, ripped loose the chains, hoisting the torches in the air. Metal clanged and light flashed. Marvin grabbed Sam by the arm.
Christ, someone over here!
Sam pulled their arm free and again approached the altar. This time, it was their hands that touched the plasmonellid. It wasn't slimy or rough, but soft and wrinkled, with the oddly pliable give of elderly skin. They pulled up, and like the taproot of a carrot, the entire yellow proboscis tore free from Sister Maeve.
Put it back!
Marvin shouted, until he saw the tears in Sam's eyes.
It's not apparent. It never chose this.
They looked down at Sister Maeve, unsure if the head turned, if it seemed to exhale one last time, or if they simply imagined it.
Neither of them did. They're prisoners.
The alien creature, slower than a worm but faster than a tree, pulled its limbs in and wrapped them around Sam. Marvin gasped at this and stepped forward. He put a hand on the creature, and for an eye-rolling 3 seconds of hallucination, knew a piece of what Sam felt. When he came to, saliva dribbled from his mouth. He furrowed his brows and helped brace the creature in Sam's arms. Sam and Marvin carried the plasmonellid out of the chamber. It was lighter than Sam expected. There was a warmth to the creature hotter than any human, a scent to the skin sweeter than any infant. They wondered if this is how their father felt, cradling them in weak arms after eruption. The pair ran down the tunnels, then out the archway into the garden. For the first time in nearly 50 years, the creature felt the soft radiation of moonlight again, and through its body, the 2 hybrid children sensed a fragment of primordial delight, an end to torment. It stopped writhing. The creature changed. In the dark stone cavern, it was deprived of light and mobility, in a constant state of fear and discomfort. They had never seen it at peace. Here, it looked like a different being. It was not so tree-like in Sam's arms. Instead of harsh bends and locked angles, it flowed, a sense of underwater currents to it on dry land. Sam and Marvin knelt with the creature before the crater. The tendrils relaxed and spread over the ground, Sam's arms, and Marvin's legs. The taproot tongue at the base searched up their limbs, growing longer and longer until it could trace the curves of Sam's face, feel the circumference of Marvin's head. The touch warmed Sam, a curious sense of reunion to the scene. The tongue fell down to the ground, and its every limb relaxed. The whole body inflated and deflated, inflated, deflated. And then it went still. Sam placed a palm on its trunk, unsure what they should be feeling or not. They bent their head down and let the tongue probe the surface. The light twisting inside it had gone dark.
Is it dead?
Sam hung their head.
It's free.
Marvin and Sam looked at one another. They each began to cry at the reunion cut so short, but there was no remorse. It had to be done.
What do we do now?
Sam asked. Marvin picked the creature up. It was already desiccated, cracking with every movement. He lowered it into the crater. Sam got on their knees and began scraping dirt with their hands onto the deceased creature. Marvin dug his hands into the earth as well, and handful by handful, the body disappeared. A half hour later, the burial was complete. Sam's robes were filthy. They ripped them off to just the cassock beneath. Marvin stared in shock.
We can't go back.
Sam said. Marvin nodded tearfully, too overwhelmed to speak. He sat there, dejected, lost. Sam pulled him to his feet, a brother they never knew they had.
You can come with me if you want.
Where are you going?
Sam stared into the crater and heard a man's voice deep in their memory singing a song, an echo printed in their mind.
Home.
May tomorrow be sunny and